Watts.
Good evening, I'm Rob Quirk, working from my remote studio again tonight, maintaining our social distancing and fighting COVID-19 together.
And tonight, only on News 5, a survivor's story. Our Andy Cohen spoke with a videographer who got COVID-19 during a ski trip here in Colorado. He's now using his experience to educate others.
Matt Newey and his friends were all visiting from Utah last month, and while they all did catch the virus, Matt, who has mild asthma before getting sick, really felt the brunt of the symptoms.
You know, my story all begins on Friday the 13th. Not the luckiest day, of course.
The ski trip to Steamboat Springs happened just before the resort started closing last month. They thought they were safe.
On that Saturday, we get this text alert while we're out skiing that the whole ski resort is shutting down because there's a big outbreak going on.
All five started feeling some of the symptoms after returning home, but Matt just figured those body aches were from overdoing it on the slopes. He wouldn't have even known he was sick, but for a pre-scheduled doctor's visit.
While I was in there, you know, as he was like checking my blood pressure and heart rate, he checked my temperature, and he said I had a fever of 101 degrees. Just got a call from my doctor, and he said I tested positive for COVID-19.
As a professional videographer, Matt started documenting his illness. He says the respiratory symptoms showed up about a week into the infection.
I'm not getting much better.
It got to the point where it felt like I was breathing through a straw, and I couldn't even catch my breath. And my lungs and sinuses burned like crazy.
He called the hospital that night, but they urged him to stay at home and tough it out if he could. After getting through that night, he slowly started to feel better.
There's people who are on ventilators who are in far worse circumstances than I am, who are fighting for their lives. And it really woke me up to this seriousness of this pandemic that I'm trying to help other people be more aware of and more cautious.
But the illness has left lingering problems. His lungs still aren't at full capacity, and he lost some of his sense of taste and smell. Doctors think the virus caused minor inflammation in his brain.
I don't even taste it.
Since recovering, he's donated his plasma and now volunteers buying groceries for folks in the neighborhood. He hopes by sharing his story that it'll help people his age understand they can get sick like him, and so can those around you.
Young adults my age, you know, we like to be, you know, active and social, and it's hard to live in this pandemic and be isolated. You know, it's not that fun. But you know, it's just so much more important for us to make sure we're taking these heavy precautions, because you know, this virus is serious and it can really hurt people.
Always watching out for you.
Excited to have him back.
Andy Cohen, News 5.